Red Umbrella, a love story weathered by storms. 1. The chance meeting. It started with an umbrella, a bright red one, spotted with white polka dots, spinning wildly in the gusting rain. I was standing on a crowded corner in downtown Chicago, late for a meeting, when the umbrella flew past me. A woman, drenched but laughing, chased after it, her heels clicking on the wet pavement. I caught it before it disappeared into the street. "Got it," I said, holding it out to her. She smiled, her eyes bright despite the rain. "Thank you. I thought it was gone for good." "Looks like it's got a mind of its own," I replied. "It's the wind," she said, tilting her head toward the stormy sky. "And maybe fate." I didn't know then that this brief exchange would change my life. Her name was Emma, and what started as a random encounter turned into coffee, then dinner, then something much deeper. But our love story wasn't as simple as it seemed. Fate had more in store for us than either of us could have imagined. 2. The mystery begins. Emma was unlike anyone I'd ever met. She was vibrant, spontaneous, and seemed to live in a world all her own. But there were moments when she grew distant, her smile fading like a cloud passing over the sun. She never talked about her past, brushing off my questions with a quick joke or a change of subject. One evening, while we were walking along the river, she stopped abruptly and stared at the water. "Do you ever feel like your past is chasing you?" she asked. The question caught me off guard. "Not really," and I said, "Why?" She shrugged, her eyes fixed on the rippling water. "No reason, just wondering." That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that Emma was hiding something. And I was right. 3. The box. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon when I found the box. Emma had gone out to run errands and I was cleaning up her apartment, a habit I'd picked up since we started spending so much time together. The box was tucked in the back of her closet, hidden beneath a pile of old sweaters. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it and found a collection of odd items, an old photograph of Emma with a man I didn't recognize, a bundle of letters tied with a red ribbon, and a small silver key. The letters were addressed to Emma, and the handwriting wasn't hers. I didn't read them. It felt like an invasion of privacy. But the photograph and the key stayed with me. Who was the man, and what did the key unlock? 4. The confrontation. When Emma returned, I couldn't keep quiet. "I found something in your closet," I said, trying to sound casual. "A box with some letters and a photo." Her face went pale. "You went through my stuff?" "I wasn't snooping," I said quickly. "I was cleaning, and it fell out. I didn't read anything, I swear." "But who's the man in the photo?" She hesitated, her eyes darting toward the closet. "It's nothing. Just someone I used to know." "Emma, come on, you can tell me." She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "His name is Mark. He was important to me a long time ago, but he's not part of my life anymore." I wanted to believe her, but the way she avoided my gaze told me there was more to the story. The warning. A few weeks later, I noticed a man watching us. Emma and I were having dinner at a small Italian restaurant when I saw him sitting at the bar, his eyes fixed on our table. He was tall, with dark hair and a sharp jawline, and there was something unsettling about the way he looked at Emma. "Do you know him?" I asked, nodding toward the bar. Emma glanced over her shoulder and froze. Her hand tightened around her fork. "We should go," she said abruptly. She practically dragged me out of the restaurant. "What's going on?" I demanded as we stepped onto the street. "Nothing," she said, but her voice was trembling. "Let's just go home." That was the first time I felt real fear, not for myself, but for Emma. 6. The key. The next day, Emma was gone. She left a note on the kitchen counter. "I need some time to think. Don't call me." I waited for hours, then days, but she didn't come back. Desperate for answers, I remembered the box in her closet. This time I opened the letters. They were from Mark, and they told a story of love, betrayal, and something darker. He accused Emma of running away, of hiding something from him. The tone of the letters grew more menacing with each page. The silver key burned in my pocket as I reread the letters. I needed to find out what it opened. 7. The hotel. The key led me to a safety deposit box at a hotel downtown. The concierge didn't ask any questions when I handed him the key, just led me to a small, private room. Inside the box, I found a journal and a USB drive. The journal was Emma's. It detailed her relationship with Mark, how it had started with passion and ended in fear. She wrote about his controlling behavior, his threats, and how she'd finally escaped him. The last entry read, "If anything happens to me, Mark is responsible." The USB drive contained videos, surveillance footage of Mark following Emma, sitting outside her apartment, watching her from a distance. My stomach turned as I realized the danger she was in. 8. The chase. I tried calling Emma, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Panic set in. I called the police and gave them the journal and the USB drive, but they said they couldn't do anything unless Emma filed a report herself. Frustrated and scared, I decided to find her myself. I retraced our steps, visiting all the places we'd been together. It wasn't until I went back to the Riverwalk that I found her. She was sitting on a bench, staring at the water. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. "Emma," I said, running up to her, "you're in danger. Mark is here." She looked at me, her expression hollow. "I know," she said. "He's been following me for weeks." 9. The confrontation. Before I could respond, Mark appeared. He stepped out of the shadows, his face twisted with anger. "Emma," he said, his voice cold, "you can't keep running from me." "Leave her alone, I said, stepping between them. Mark sneered. "This isn't your business." "It is now," I shot back. Mark lunged at me, but before he could reach us, a group of police officers appeared. They'd been tracking him since I turned in the USB drive. Mark was arrested on the spot, his threats finally silenced. 10. The aftermath. After Mark's arrest, Emma and I worked tirelessly to rebuild her sense of safety and freedom. She moved into my apartment, a place she said felt like a sanctuary. Together, we donated her old belongings, the ones that reminded her of Mark, and replaced them with things that brought her peace and joy. Emma started teaching art classes at a local community center. She said it helped her reconnect with herself, and watching her inspire others brought me a quiet joy. One evening after her class, she brought home a canvas she'd painted. It was a vibrant depiction of a red umbrella against a stormy sky. "This is us," she said, smiling. "Proof that something beautiful can come from chaos." 11. The unexpected letter. Months after Mark's imprisonment, an unexpected letter arrived. It was from Mark himself. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The letter was brief, filled with apologies and confessions. Mark admitted to manipulating Emma and trying to control her life because he couldn't handle losing her. He ended the letter with a warning. "Let this be a reminder that love isn't ownership. I'm sorry for everything I did to her." I showed the letter to Emma. She read it quietly and then tore it in half. "That part of my life is over," she said firmly. "I'm free now." 12. The proposal. A year later, on a sunny spring afternoon, I proposed to Emma in the very spot where I'd first caught her runaway umbrella. She laughed as I got down on one knee, her eyes shining with tears. "Of course I'll marry you," she said, pulling me to my feet and kissing me. 13. The wedding. Our wedding was a small, intimate celebration, surrounded by friends and family. Emma's father, who hadn't been part of her life for years, showed up unexpectedly. At first, she was hesitant to let him in, but after a heartfelt apology and a promise to make things right, she decided to give him another chance. As we danced under the stars that night, Emma whispered to me, "This feels like a new beginning." "Because it is," I replied. 14. A new chapter. After the wedding, we started traveling together. Emma's art began gaining attention beyond the local scene, and her works were displayed in galleries across the country. On one of our trips to Paris, she was invited to showcase her collection at an international exhibition. Watching her confidence bloom was the most rewarding part of our journey. 15. The final letter. Years later, we received another letter from Mark, sent from prison. This time it was addressed to both of us. It wasn't a threat or an apology, but a reflection. He wrote about how his time in prison had forced him to confront the pain he caused and expressed hope that Emma had found happiness. Emma chose not to respond. She burned the letter in the fireplace, saying, "This is my closure." 16. Building a family. Emma and I decided to start a family. Our first child, a girl named Grace, brought more joy into our lives than we ever thought possible. Watching Emma as a mother, nurturing and full of love, was a reminder of how far she'd come from the shadows of her past. 17. Full circle. One day as we walked along the river with Grace in a stroller, it began to rain. Emma laughed and pulled out a bright red umbrella. "Some things never change," she said, twirling it above us. I couldn't help but smile. The umbrella had been there at the start of our story, and now it felt like a symbol of everything we'd weathered together. 18. A legacy of love years passed, and our family grew. Emma's art became her legacy, inspiring others to find beauty in their struggles. She often gave talks about her journey, encouraging others to heal and rebuild. One day, Grace came home from school with a drawing of her own, a red umbrella floating in the sky. Emma hugged her tightly and said, "You're part of this story too." 19. Looking back. As we grew older, Emma and I often reflected on the twists and turns of our lives, the pain, the joy, the unexpected moments that had shaped us. "If you could change anything, would you?" she asked me one evening. "Not a single thing," I said. "Every moment led me to you." 20. The final chapter. On our 50th wedding anniversary, we returned to the corner in Chicago where it all began. We stood in the rain, holding the same red umbrella that had brought us together. As Emma leaned into me, she whispered, "We made it, didn't we?" "We did," I said, my voice full of gratitude. And as the rain fell around us, I knew that our story, full of challenges, love, and resilience, had come full circle. The red umbrella, once a symbol of chaos, had become a testament to the beauty of our journey together.